Well, we came and told them.
Did a video of him giving the award.
Hello. Good afternoon. Hello.
Is Mr. Eisnaugle in?
Rep Eisnaugle is not here.
He's not. What's your name?
I need that here.
And yours?
Yes.
And what's your role?
I'm the district director for Rep Eisnaugle.
Okay, it's nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
We want to give a message to Mr. Eisnaugle about our disenchantment of his vote on HB 1355.
Okay.
We feel that he is insensitive to people who are not, that bill has restricted from voting at this time. It's making it more difficult for our students, for African Americans, for Hispanics, and for our elderly.
Now, what was your name?
I'm Phyllis Hancock.
Okay. And what group are
I'm here as a private citizen.
Okay, but probably is a group that you guys are all a part of, I'm guessing.
We're here with the Wake
Association?
Orlando,
Okay.
and we'd like to officially present this award to Representative Eisnaugle as our first Jim Crow legislature for his vote with HB 1355, which we feel disenfranchises many Florida voters, and which we feel is an unnecessary piece of legislation in a state that has so many other problems to deal with. Disenfranchising voters isn't what we need to be focusing on. So we'd like to present this award.
Great.
Wake Orlando is a broad coalition of many groups in Orlando, many organizations. Yes, we all represent different ones.
Okay.
I'm from United Front 436, representing the East Side. Lots of Puerto Rican Latinos, and I'm just second the motion of what this lady says here.
Okay.
I'm with Communication Workers, Local 3108, and we're also represented here to condemn this despicable vote which undermines our democracy.
I'm from the Black and Latino Hispanic Coalition here in New Haven. I'm parking my place here in Orlando.
I'm a Democratic. I'm on the Democratic Executive Committee of Precinct Captain. I also belong to League of Women Voters. I belong to Organize Now, and I have been an Occupy Orlando member.
Very good.
I'm here on behalf of students. I myself am a student, and I feel like there are many students in the Central Florida area because not only do we have UCF with over 50,000 students, but also Valencia with over 40,000 students, as well as Rollins College. So there are many students that are being disenfranchised by this bill. We move very often, and I myself have had to have a change of address at a polling station. This means that had this bill been in effect in the past, I might not have been able to vote or had my vote counted.
And my name is Lorraine Tuliano. I represent the Central Florida AFL-CIO. That's over 40,000 men and women union members in the Central Florida area. And we also are against HB 1355, and we condemn the representatives' vote on that bill.
Okay.
I also want to make a point that African Americans are very discouraged since the history of African Americans in this country to fight for the right to vote. Since 1965, the Voting Rights Act, we continue to be challenged and put obstacles in the way for us to vote. We want to make sure that Jim Crow laws do not, as we feel that this does, is take us back. Again, obstacles. Jim Crow was nothing but obstacles for you to vote. That's exactly what this bill has done, is an obstacle. And we want our right to vote, and we get to vote for whomever we want to vote for. They should not have any right to dictate what group should vote, what group should not vote. Every citizen have a right for the voice to be cast, and we want that to be clear to him.
Okay.
Once you also understand that provision about Sunday voting, that disenfranchised a lot of church people who don't have transportation. The Souls to the Polls was a very successful program where people were bused to church and then they were bused to the polls afterward. And that getting rid of Sunday voting was a deliberate attempt to disenfranchise those people. And also, we'd kind of like to know how much ALEC was in the writing of this and what what relationship Mr. Eisnaugle has with the American Legislative Executive Exchange
Well,
Council.
that would be a question for the bill sponsor, which is Representative Baxley, who's not represented by Eisnaugle.
And we're really going to be looking at that relationship with legislators very closely from now on.
Okay.
And
Good.
well, I just have a quick question for you. Recently, the Department of Justice ruled that HB 1355
Sorry, go ahead.
that HB 1355 does not meet the burden of proof. According to the Voting Rights Act, Section 5, why does he continue to support legislation like this?
Well, the only bill he sponsored in the last 2 years related to voting was actually House Bill 553 last year. And we may or may not have seen it if you're asking about his stance on voting. And actually, all it did was it made it a violation of the Florida Election Code for someone to misrepresent their status as a U.S. military veteran. And that's the only bill he sponsored in the last 2 years related to voting at all.
But it goes beyond sponsorship, it's his voting record. Why didn't he vote no on 1355 instead of voting yes? And that is our point. He should have voted no. If he was for voting rights and keeping citizens from voting, then he should have voted no.
As I said, I'll just reply to your question.
We feel like it's a non-existent problem because from January of 2008 to March of 2011, there were only 31 alleged cases and only 3 arrests with regard to voter fraud in the state of Florida. So why was such sweeping legislation needed for a problem that is minuscule at best?
Well, again, that would be a question for the bill sponsor, Representative Baxley.
I think it's a question for whoever voted for it. It is your sole job as a legislator. It is his Representative Eisnaugle's sole job to understand and read and know what he is voting for. So if he knew what he was voting for, then why did he vote for a bill that had no real purpose other than to restrict the rights of voters?
Well, yeah, that's a matter of opinion, and people disagree on things. However, if you have a specific question on what was in the bill itself, I would direct you to the staff analysis, which is available on the House website. It's the same summary that all the legislators and staff get.
Okay, well, we would appreciate if Representative Eisnaugle could explain to us at some point why it is that he felt necessary to vote for this bill when there's no real problem and there are so many other things that we need to be focusing on as a state.
And also why this bill does not address absentee ballot voting, which is shown to be the biggest case of fraud and also shown to be the biggest voting method of Republicans. So clearly Representative Baxley, as well as the sponsors and voters of this bill, felt that fraud was being committed on polling day or whatever, but somehow not when you vote by mail from home on a piece of paper. So it'd be interesting to ask the representative why absentee ballot voting was not included in this, bill to prevent fraud.
Well, again, and we also want him to know that if he votes for a bill, he's as responsible as the person who sponsors it. Not sponsoring the bill. If he votes for it, he's just as guilty as the person who does sponsor it because he's saying he favors
Right,
it.
but if you have a question of the actual text in the bill, the
We're
person
not
who wrote
asking
the bill.
We're not asking
Well,
that was her
We're
question.
asking Eisenhower why he favors the bill.
Well, her question was related to the actual text of the bill and why something was not included, like I said.
Right, but like we've been saying, if he's going to vote for a bill and sponsor a bill, then he is responsible to understand that piece of legislation and be able to explain it to his constituency. So that's why we're asking these questions to you. Clearly he's not here, but we would like these questions to be answered because he clearly supported this bill, not just voting, but by sponsoring it.
Okay, well, if you give me your
Or co-sponsoring.
we can get back to you and give you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
How about a My Word column in the Orlando Sentinel where he defends his voting for HB?
I think that
Ask him
sounds
to
very fair.
give it to us in writing. We want to know.
We'd like to know, and this way he has a chance to respond to our, he's not here right now to respond to our allegations, but if he were to put a My Word column in the Orlando Sentinel, then he could do that. He could try to explain to voters why this piece of legislation was necessary. And if he didn't know what was in the bill, then why he voted for a bill that he was not, that he had not read. Because like I said, as a legislator, it is his sole job to read and understand legislation. So if he voted for something, that meant he read it, he understood it, and he agreed with it.
Okay, thank you very much.
And you make sure Mr. Eisnaugle gets our board.
Thank you.
Do you have a card?
Yeah, I do have a card that we can follow up with you.
Do you have one as well?
Yes. If you could bring a group of them, that would be great.
Did you get a bill?